Hi, everyone. It's Jeremy, and I am here with some amazing team members from Guard Closet, and we are super excited to dive into a little drill, dive into a little music, design chat, so that we at Guard Closet can be out there helping you all, give you some great advice, and maybe along the way you learn something. So I'm excited to be joined by new team members, Ron and Josh. So hello, guys. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. Very excited to have you both here, that we get a chance to do this. So I just want to start maybe with some basics and let's get to know each of you. So in about 30 seconds, Ron, give us your life story.
30 seconds for my age, sure. you know, I started I started writing drill actually when I was a junior in high school. I wrote my first drill then, and it was by paper, by pencil, the old school style. And ever since I've been hooked. And marching DCI, judging DCI, those years that I did judge, it just continues to be a major part of my life. Um, or else I wouldn't be here, right? So, but it's been a great journey. I've been doing it since you know the late '90s and 1990s for those young ones out there. But yeah, it's been a quite of a journey of not just writing and designing, but also adjudicating in the fall, winter, and summer, and continue to try to improve my craft at every chance I get.
That's great. That's great. So Josh, let's get to know you a little bit. Where do you come from? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. It's where I was born and raised, but currently live in Charlotte. Been writing music for what feels like a long time at this point, but been doing it professionally for about 3 years now. And I'd like to think that my approach to marching band or the marching arts in general is maybe a little unique. I want to do things different, inspire change, and do new and innovative ideas. So I try and base what I do around that of just being original, doing something different. So it kind of drives me to write music and continue to like Ron said, just learn new stuff every year.
That's really great. And I'm really excited that both of you in particular are here. I discovered both of you in different ways. And it's sort of been interesting to have this growth of Guard Closet go from a consignment business into really a full service marching arts company. I mean, we literally now can do everything. And I like to say we can do everything but the actual instruments. We can't sell the actual instruments. We don't sell the actual drums, but literally everything else, we can do. So I am very excited, and it comes from the fact that both of you, while you touched on it ever so briefly in your introductions, both of you are very unique in how and the way that you think about things. And that's why I think the Guard Closet client and those out there that are interested in doing something different, and I don't mean different like, oh my god, this is crazy wacky off the, but just a different approach. I know, like, for Ron, and you can speak to this in a second, but I know that for you, it is an all-encompassing thing, right? You're married to color guard. You do color guard. You understand the musician side. You understand the visual side. This isn't just somebody coming into this. Oh, I was a drill tech for this drum corps for 2 years, and now I'm going to write your drill. You have a little bit of a different background when you say, Ron.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you touched on it correctly. It's been a part of my life for a long time, and yeah, I married a color guard person who is also a French horn player. I mean, even the stuff I do now goes through the wife first to make sure I haven't, done something off the wall crazy. But that's just inside stuff, right? But
Well, and let's just keep it. Listen. That is very important because for you color guard people out there that are watching this or listening to this or whatever, you have at every single turn been so mad at the drill designer for not thinking about the color guard transitions, for not thinking about how the intervals in between them. Because how many times have you seen a flag interval at like a 4-step or a 6-step? You're like, no. So it's amazing to have somebody that you're filtering this stuff through almost to make sure that it works for everybody.
Yeah, it's a fantastic feedback too, because that's one of the elements that I tap into to help me improve my my craft. And as far back as I can remember, you know, the music side of things have been a part of my life. Fifth grade on, I did the whole journey. Musician, all the instruments. My brother is a band director. You know, so it's in the family. And the one thing that I think, from a color guard standpoint, that you just mentioned is making sure that the color guard may not be the first dot you write, but is in the forefront of your thought process as you're writing.
And that is key. That is key. That is a good little tip out there, that it's in the forefront of your mind. Doesn't have to be always the focus, especially when you're talking about bands with different skill sets, right? Like, and by that I mean a really good drum line, a really good wind section, a really good color guard. Like that should play into how you construct and design. I want to take this now and also talk, bring Josh into this and say, in finding you, it was also because of the way that you approach this activity. Your music and how you write it is very different. Can you tell us how and why you think your approach is so different?
You know, I find it challenging sometimes to really dive into the specifics of how I do things. It's just the way that I do it. But I think of it, honestly, I think first about, I write for the students first, the audience second, and the judges third. I like to think that if the students are performing something that they enjoy listening to, the audience enjoys listening to it, everyone buys into it, and then thus, like, it's a better performance, right? They perform it better just from buying into it. And I also lean heavily into the electronic sound design, which I do think is the future of the industry, the marching arts space. So I just think my approach with soundscaping might be a little unique. I don't know if too many people that do it exactly the way that I do it, but
I will tell you, and Ron will probably shake his head also. The answer is no. No one is quite doing it like this. And I think that's another reason why it was important to talk to you and to get this information out, especially about you and your way that you write the music. Because it is based in the not based in the electronics, but it's certainly there to enhance. What's great about it too is it doesn't have to be there and it's still amazing. So like if you have that ability, great. Josh is somebody that, oh, I've got one speaker and one iPad to pluck this out on. Okay, Josh is going to tell you, do these two sounds, or, whatever. It's not, you don't need the $1 million sound system to get music like this
mhm.
if you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah, there's more to, like, you don't need a really expensive sound system or anything elaborate. It's really the placement of everything and knowing the sounds to use, that, even the sounds that'll cut through the ensemble paired with, because, what's playing on the computer is not the same thing that's going to play through the big speakers on the field. So, yeah, it's not necessarily equipment. It is a lot of just positioning things and knowing, oh, like the one idea that you brought up last year, I like to think of with the show that we worked on, which, just for those listening, is called Forge. Basically, a blacksmith styled show. There was this like big steam sound that you wanted, and that was it. That was the moment, and it was a simple sound. It wasn't like I spent 5 hours creating this really intricate sound. It was basic, but that I felt like that was very effective.
Yes, you're right. And it was simple. And I think that that's talking about the future of all of this. It is those simplicities. So, Ron, taking now, like, because I would imagine, even from the visual aspect, the addition of these sounds and things has changed things, don't you think?
I do, and I'll take what Josh said and take it a little bit further. you're correct. You don't need the $1 million budget both for music design, visual design, but you need to have the mindset, whether you're band director or arranger, how can you make it sound or look like $1 million with what you have? And the design approach with electronics is going forward, and you don't have to have all the bells and whistles, but you do need to have appetizers of it, if I could.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
you
You
don't
want
have,
like one bell, one whistle. You don't like
yeah,
sometimes you don't need all of them.
you don't need all of them, but you do at times will need maybe a little moment. And you just need to, if you are going to go with just one little moment, make it a moment. Don't make it just,
You're right.
that judge moment where you hear everybody's had on a judge. I, I'm a judge, so I'll say it. Sometimes we miss stuff. And you have to ask yourself, why did the judges miss it? Was it not the right moment? Or was that solo performer not strong enough to sustain it? Those kind of things.
Well, and
And
I think that what you're saying is so true and leads us right into a very good part of the discussion about the creative process, right? So basically how you both approach creating a marching band show, what steps you sort of take from concept to not just writing it but literally to the final performance. So speak to me, and we can kind of go back and forth. Maybe we'll start with Ron, or maybe actually it's sort of an interesting conversation, right? Because we do have two people here that are coming from very opposite quote unquote directions, music and drill, right? And there is a theory that, or I don't even say the theory, like the most practical places that everybody starts is like, let's pick the music and write the music and then fit the drill to whatever is written musically. What are your thoughts,
I don't know
Ron?
if that's always the
okay,
best the
my
best
thought is
approach.
this. My thought is this. If we're talking about the programming and concept, are we really starting with the music or are we starting with the program? And then how does the music fit the program? Which then, how does the music fit the drill? The music is the vehicle. The music is, in judge terms, horizontal orchestra. It's how the start of the show and the end of the show. And I think one thing that I have learned over the years from directors and from other designers who are in the top of the activity, as you're programming, not only who it's for, but what they're able to do. What is their level? Is if it's a level 3 in concert band, okay, that's going to make them successful. Let's don't try to do, you know, some David Holsinger piece, grade 6. Let's
Okay.
not try to do that. Let's if we want to hit parts of it, okay. And then how does the concept work? Where does the concept and program direction take us based off of the kids? The kids at the end of the day are the ones that have to bring it to life. And we have to relate back to where they are and bring it to just above where they are so that they can, one, have something to work towards, but two, feel success. And, sometimes that success is just getting off the bus.
Very
You know,
true.
there are programs that, hey, we got off the bus, we performed, nobody got hurt, and we got home. Plain and simple. There's other programs where the success is I've got to be in the top 5 for state. I got to be in the top 5 for state. Some other successes for like administrator talks is I got to have 10 to 15% of the school's population in my band. That's another success point. There's different
And they're
levels.
different for everybody everywhere all across the world, right?
Correct.
And I
And
think
I think just to go back and finish that, the music and the concept and the program, the way I approach it is I start with who we're dealing with, who's actually going to bring it to life. Two, what is the band directors and the staff's personality and likes and taste? because as a drill designer and a programmer, also when I'm working on building concepts and that, I have to make sure that they're going to be happy with it because they're the ones in the trenches teaching it.
And
You
that
know,
they're going to be able to teach it. There's
yes,
something to be said about people out there, and we can, we can move into the Josh, I think, with the music side of this too, that ask for these things of us as designers. And the first thing you do in your head is like, I don't know if they're going to be ready for that. So I think you're right in as designers, right? And right now we're talking about us as designers, helping bands out there and telling them how to even begin this process with us, with a designer. Like, know what your staff's ability is, know what your kids' ability is before you even reach out to somebody to say, hey, I want you to design my drill or my music. Josh, do you find that that is the place you start from also?
Oh, 100%. I ask so many questions before we even make our first meeting or during the first meeting. The most important part is like which sections of your ensemble, and mostly for me, it's musical based, but which section of your ensemble plays the best? Do you have soloists that are all state players that we can feature, right? So we want to show off the best parts of your band and, in some cases, hide some of the parts that are a little bit weaker. And we can do that in the design, but we got to know those things up front, right? So the very first thing I would say I start is with the difficulty of the group. There's groups that'll recommend or have these set of songs that they want to do with their show theme, and they may all make sense. The titles may make sense with the theme. There might be lyrics that make sense, but then you listen to the melody, you listen to the rhythms, and it's too hard. And I could arrange it, but it's going to sound cheesy and it's not going to sound near as good, especially if this group isn't capable of performing that. So then that brings up the conversation of switching the source music, going original, trying something different. And sometimes directors aren't the happiest about that specifically if they have a song that they really wanted, but you do have to keep it within the range of the performers so you don't set the students up for failure, right?
And I think it's interesting because I don't think that everybody really does that when they're initially picking their shows. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like, even when I was a young designer, it wasn't like, let me think about what's going to work for the students. Let me think about what's going to work for my community, for my school, for the football team, for the competition that we're going to, for my staff, for everybody. Like, I don't think I was thinking about that stuff. I was just like, well, this is going to be a cute song and I like this theme and let's do that about, that about this, and not really take fully into consideration the needs of the entire program, as a whole. So outside of the people, right? We talked about being able to, balance your writing, your drill writing, and your music writing, based on the people that are there. And of course, it goes without saying that then the music and the drill need to be talking together so that they're balanced, right? We don't want Josh writing this like super hard, trumpet lick, and Ron has the trumpets, jazz running from the 40 to the 30 in, two counts, right? We have to have sort of that collaboration as well. But I'm interested in, because I think a lot of people think about it this way too. How do you strike a balance between what you're trying to do creatively, right? Present creatively, and then the practicality of things like field logistics, instrumentation, rehearsal time. Like, like, and we could go with Ron first. Like, how do you balance the huge artistic thing that you want to strike and the practical considerations that might not fully match up?
well, I will say that that is something that is a struggle all the time because as an artist, you want to be able to, you know, not necessarily break new bounds of drill design because, I mean, there's really not much more to go in that sense yet. But you start to go, well, I really love this move, but yeah, I need to water it down. I need to water it down before I even send it to them. And that's why, for me personally, with a lot of my shows that I have, not only just writing the drill, but programming and concept and music selection, talking to the directors, talking to the whole staff, having staff meetings in the off season about the program for the next year. We talk about, okay, we know we want this piece of music. How can we do it? How can we do it where everybody can do it, relate, achieve it? I do, just to go back a little bit, I do keep in mind what I call the audience is, the B flat people, because at the end of the day, for most of these programs, the parents and the audience, this is the one writing the checks. So we need to make sure that we include
Ding, ding,
them
ding, ding,
into
ding, ding,
that
ding,
process,
ding.
into that process. And, from a writing standpoint of trying to be creative, am I trying to be creative for me, or am I trying to be creative for where they are, what circuit they're in, and who they're going to maybe see as judges? Because even if I was doing, for example, a group in Indiana versus a group in Georgia, where I'm located, it's two different worlds. There is a complete judging circuit there, a state circuit. There's different levels of competition there, and it's completely different than here in Georgia. Georgia, you're going to see, different judges every week. You don't see a consistency. You don't get consistent feedback. It's always different. And so when you're writing and you're trying to marriage that music and visual, a lot of times, and I'll use this quote, and I wish I could remember where exactly I heard it. If you change music, you have to change the drill. If you change the drill, you have to change the music. Because when that happens on the field, it correlates with what's happening. Most of the time, like, hey, we really want to do this with a color guard here. Can we get the woodwinds to hold? Boom, not a problem. So we hold the woodwinds now. Let's beef up the woodwind part because now they're holding. you
Right.
know and so that kind of change, can we beef that up, can we water that down? Those are kind of the slang that I use in this process at times.
Well, and I think you're right to think about it that way. And that means you're having an ongoing relationship with your music arranger and your drill designer. This is not something that they're handing it over at the beginning of band camp and dipping out and saying, good luck. Because if that's the case, you know that it's not going to end well, right? Like you as the staff might think, oh yeah, I've got it under control, like I can fix Josh's music, no problem, I can water that down, I can rewrite it. And as designers, we're not mad when people do that, right? Like we have to give up our art in a way and let people adjust as needed. However, I think because of the people that you are, especially because of the company that Guard Closet is, we're not doing that. We're not just like dumping you off on the side of the road and saying, good luck, have fun. But it is a relationship, right, Josh? Like you want that relationship with that entire team.
Oh yeah, the the most important aspect to me in the design process is the team and how well the team communicates. And like you mentioned, drill writer, music arranger, and then you also have usually band director or staff that sometimes join in on those conversations, and then choreographers, so on and so forth. So like it's not just isolated to music arrangers and drill writers, but that team is such a core aspect. And communicating things. I may have a musical idea that sounds really cool. And then Ron's like, wait a minute. Well, this doesn't work out with drill. Like, I can't do what you want with the drill. Right. Because I do think or visually when I write music, but I don't have the visual mindset like what Ron does. That's just not that's not my strength. So having a good relationship in a team to work with through the product and create something so custom, very specific for your group. And the more that we communicate and talk and have these meetings, the more we learn and the more that we can get something tailored very specific to each group. And I think that's so understated and so important in creating something that's great.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think that as an organization, as a company, as a business, Guard Closet, and then Josh with your business and Ron with your business, that's sort of the basis of it is staying engaged, is being there. I mean, we are educators and we like to see our students or our programs succeed. I don't think either any of us out there or any of us here are in it to, be the number one and we're at the top and but it really is about having the best experience for the student that's going to make that student want to do it again. I think that's what I always ultimately think about is doing something so that the student, the band director, the staff, the parents, the whatever want to see it again. What do you think, like, so to be that, what qualities would you say you're looking for? Not even that you're looking for, but that you kind of want or expect directors and staff to have when they're approaching you. And we could go back to Ron for this. Like, what are your expectations? If we've now moved on to you all, everybody out there understands the design process and how Josh and Ron design. What are you guys looking for in terms of that collaboration? So, like, Ron, what are you looking for with the band directors and the staff that you want?
I think the number one thing, and I think I speak for all drill designers and music arrangers and guard choreographers across the world, open communications. Open communications. Like, yes, you want to hire us, and yes, you want to do this, and yes, you want to do this. But when we come back and go, hey, did you think about this? And did you think about this? And did you think about, like, we give you a whole list, because there's that moment of information. Like, for example, one of my main questions I always ask, what's your rehearsal field like?
Ding.
Is there street lights? Is there a curb? Is it a full field? Does it cut off at the back hash? And that happens. A lot of my programs, that is happening. And it's happening more and more now because of schools getting bigger, they're running out of land, and they just, as usual, the performing arts gets cut or restricted from something. And so that's just like one part of the communication. Like, I need to know that. Oh, we're going to add a prop. Wait, when did this happen? Oh, and
How many times? How many
we wanted
times?
to move. Oh, you wanted to move.
Oh, right. That
Yes,
discussion. Right.
yes. Like, it's open communications. I would love that to be the number one quality. Open communications.
And that shouldn't
But
be hard. I mean, honestly, out there, people, it should not be
and I get
hard to
and I
stay
get it.
communicative.
And I get it. Busy, like their life are like busy. I totally get it. Because like I said earlier, my brother is a band director. I get it. I see it. I have went into the schools with my clients to teach classes when they want, like, hey, can you come do a vision block for us in class? Yes, absolutely. Be there. Not a problem. Just to it gives them a moment to kind of do what they need to do, because a lot of programs that I know that we're looking at don't have a full-time staff. They
Correct.
don't have they may not even have a full-time assistant band director at the high school. They're at
Oh,
the middle
yes.
school trying to build the program.
Right.
And so we need to help them as much as possible. From our standpoint of communications of the drill, where it's at, the instructions on it, those kind of things. The communications is so key from start to finish. That's kind
And
of been in our social media lately.
I know.
Drill designers are like,
Well,
just email me.
right. Just
you know,
please tell us what's going on. I think I it's interesting because I think that directors get into this mindset where, oh, I hired a drill designer. Okay, that's all I had to do. Hire a drill designer and the drill will be done and it will be perfect. And of course, we all know that not to be true. As the color guard person that has dealt with the band director that has just said, we hired somebody and that's it. And then I get the drill and I'm like, what the hell is going on? We've had to go in to change it. So having that open communication is, I believe, 100% key. You can't just hand over some music and say, go to town. At the same time, we as designers, we especially as this group of designers, know to ask you those questions. We want to be there to, for lack of a better word, handhold you through this, through this thing. Sometimes you've never done this before, right? I mean, we get clients that are, I'm a first year band director. What do I do? And that's the client that we want to help. That's literally why we exist. I don't think that, Josh or Ron or I are somehow delusional to think that, I mean, we can produce the best BOA band, top, whatever we want to, but that's not, where we're shooting for. We want to help those that are the only people on staff, where it is one band director, maybe a percussion person, maybe a color guard person. That's it. That's the staff. So when you have something like that, Josh, a smaller group or whatever, and I think this plays off of what Ron was saying, and in what you need from a group of people. Talk to us about, even from that small side of like a small staff, how you can make that the most effective.
Yeah, that's that's an interesting conversation because a large part of my clientele are small groups. And the group that I kind of started out with is a very small group that doesn't have an assistant band director. So it kind of checks all of those boxes. I think as designers, I think Ron will agree that the smaller the program and the less on the production quality that group can create, the harder it is for a designer to create something that is going to excel and set the students up for success. But that also, I'm really just going to play off of what Ron said. Communication is super key there, especially for those smaller groups, because we need to know more because we're doing more of that legwork versus where if you have a full staff, then it's a little bit easier. And typically, if you have a full staff, you're probably going to have a better performing band because more teachers to student ratio type of thing. But if the communication is huge, and those groups are, I'd say, some of my hardest to write for because I have to really, really think about every small detail, especially visually. I think more visual on those smaller groups because you have to think about, well, 16 counts versus 8 counts for a transition is huge.
And with two trumpets versus 12, it's a very it's a different transition,
For
honestly.
sure. When you even approach like one of my groups this year, without giving like too much information away, but we're reapproaching the way that we're going to design this show. It's going to be different than typical marching band because their group is so small and their strengths are so different than other typical marching bands. So we're going to try something different, and it's not going to seem like a normal marching band, but that's what we're going for, and I think it's going to play into their strengths. But with that said, that's harder for me to do than to write for a group that has 200 members and consistently places top 3, right? Like, but those groups also are really rewarding to work with. The smaller, like closer knit groups, so rewarding.
Yeah, and you affect those groups a whole lot more. I've often said this, when we're talking about budget and how much money we have, because all of these things that we're talking about obviously cost money, and there's a cost associated with that, and it goes up the more you want, right? Just like anything else. But because we are designers that want to see the students and the program succeed, we understand the effort, maybe for lack of a better word, or amount of work, or the attention that goes into a smaller band versus a larger one, an inexperienced band versus an experienced one. And I think what we're all hinting at and we're all saying is, it is different. It is different to design for each and every single one of those bands. And as directors, as staff members, you need to recognize that your band is different, and you can't expect the same design. You can't expect the same visual package, the same budget that the band even down the street has, because that's completely different. So it all goes back to working within what you have. Now, to go back to Guard Closet and talk about that as a budgetary thing, right? Because we can do everything, we sort of can take the budget and work anywhere within it, right? If this is a situation where you're saying, oh, I have X amount of money, I can't hire a music arranger, this is the stock music, but we need this, drill written for this, we could do that. But we need flag choreography only for this one song because the instructor's not good at writing, swing flag work or whatever. And so can we hire you to do a single swing flag? Or can we hire you to write one song? Or can we hire you to listen and come in and do some fixes? I think that as creative people, those are the places that we all want to live. Well, at least I want to live. I don't know that everybody out there thinks that way, that they should be so customized to their band. I just find, and I mean, you guys are really pointing it out, that like people do just take like big pieces of music or big visual ideas, right, and like try and put it sometimes on this small little thing, right? Like, what do you think, like, and so that maybe this is a very good topic to move into, and Ron, we could go back to you. What do you think then are some of those big mistakes that people make that would be solved by having, a consulting drill designer versus, buy it off the internet or call the guy one time and send your numbers, like there is a conversation. What do you think of the pitfalls or the things to not do that?
Uh, One of the things I think that a lot of directors get caught up in when trying to do something more than where they are is that they don't find out about the result of that until they're halfway through the season.
Oh,
After a few weeks of judges going, wait, what? And if you're in a circuit that has the opportunity with critiques where you meet with the judges afterwards, that's great. You actually can have those in-depth conversations in a smaller time, but you can at least figure out where the issue is. But I think one of the things especially from a visual design of the people that, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I think one of the downfalls is that you don't have a backup for when you're in the trenches and you show up at band camp. I'll give you a prime example: military towns. Military towns see a lot of in and out number changes in the couple of weeks right before school, or right before band camp, or right at band camp.
yeah,
And,
exactly.
and if they bought a stock show, well, what do? It's going to take that company to rewrite it. How many days does it take? How does it get there? And, even for, I would say, 75% of my clients, they don't get the whole show the first time. They don't get the whole pod right off the bat. They get, here's the first chunk. What are your numbers? Let's adjust. Let's try to adjust this form. We'll try to stay away from blocks and get that form to look right. We may have to hit a block, whatever that may be, but at least give them the opportunity to adjust, especially in the military towns. I know I've seen that. I grew up near a military town. I was a military brat, so I get it. I understand it, but it's a problem, but it's sometimes a good problem. Because your numbers change like 20 people. You're like, whoa,
Oh,
wow,
that's a
look at
big
all
problem.
these.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a great problem.
that's a great problem. Yeah.
Yes, and so even as a drill designer, you know, it gets frustrating, and my clients will tell you they are not talking to me in August. They're emailing me. They know I am like the phone is 20 yards away. The email machine is off. Pieware and drill writing is on full time all the time. And it's like I'm punching dots. I'm punching dots. Whether it's 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's happening all the time. And it goes back to communication, but it also goes back to the downfalls of not having a team or consultants there with you that can answer those questions when they check their email at 3 a.m. because they just spent all day writing. And they can go, hey, yeah, this is where I'm at. This is where this is at. Does the instructions make sense? Like for me, when I write the instructions, I write it as if I was a visual tech.
Right.
I would write it as a visual tech, not a visual caption head, not as a drill writer, you know, whatever that may look like for others. It's this is what you need to work on. Watch this move here, watch these people here. You're gonna have to adjust this from the field because this is going to happen. Those kind of notes and instructions that are going to help that smaller staff, maybe one band director, two band directors. That's going to help them. Again, we're investing so that we want to see success. We're investing into their program and we want them to succeed and be happy, because if they're not happy, that's it. It's over, and you're moving on to the next person.
And I want to express that too, right? You think about that on a daily basis, right? If you hire an electrician to, do something in your house and the wiring is not good, you're not going to hire that electrician again, right? But you also need to know when you need an electrician, when you can do it by yourself, or when you need like a whole team of electricians to come in and, to come in and fix it. So Josh, what do you think are some of the biggest pitfalls or mistakes that even people coming to you initially with something make?
Honestly, I think proposing music that is way out of reach for the ensemble's experience level is probably one of the bigger ones. There's a lot of times where they'll propose a list of 2 or 3 copyrighted songs, and it's I could write it, but the group's not going to perform it well. So it's oftentimes that we're having to readjust and come up with new musical selections, right? It's like the same thing with drill. If a band director comes up to Ron and says, "Hey, I want that Carolina Crown rotating prism thing. I want my kids to do
No,
that." And then yeah, you know?
no,
No, no.
But that's what that kind of happens, because that's, just a visual example of something that's flashy that everyone's like, "Oh, that's cool." They hear a song and they're like, "Oh, this would be cool. I want my kids to play this." And kids probably can't. And there's oftentimes to where it just I don't think it works for marching band. There are songs out there. I have arranged some of them that I don't want to touch again, and I just think that it, at least for my arranging style, doesn't work. And that's important too. Is that you know not all show commissions are shows that I should be writing. If someone comes up to me and is
Speak
like,
speak it for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back. There.
like, I love having the clients, and I'm so fortunate to have right now I'm over a dozen for this year. So I'm so fortunate to have all these groups. But if someone came up and was like, "I want to do an all jazz show," I'm like, anything I write for you is going to suck, because it's not my style. And not that there's anything wrong with a jazz marching band show. It could be great. I'm just not going to make that great for you. So it's really leveling on like the musical selections and trying to nail down what's going to work best for the team. And even the visual side, Ron again may say something of like, "Hey, this song, it may sound cool, but like the tempo is a huge thing. Is it sounds cool, then you're like, well, when you really listen to the tempo, why is it in 3? And also it's in an odd tempo that you could march in halftime, but then you're doing this as a closer, so now you lost the
Right.
momentum, right? There's no intensity going to the end, but it sounds cool, right? So those are things that oftentimes don't get thought about when coming up with musical selections for a show.
Well,
if I could add to that
go
real
ahead.
quick, Jeremy,
Go ahead.
I think another thing that you kind of flirted on is we get these, and this is from a programmer. I'm coming up with program. I'm researching music, and I'm studying music, and I'm looking for the right songs. And then I go to a website that helps with copyrights, and they go, "Oh, by the way, no, 7 months." And I'm like, wait, what? 7 months? I need this now, you know? You know, one time we used a speech in our show and we got it from the original artist. And it took me 3 months to find an heir to the estate to get the permission to use the voice.
Oh,
It took another 6 weeks. While all that's happening, you know, there was a one of the pieces that copyrights the guy had changed emails. The original owner had changed emails and had a ton of email requests for copyrights. And there was like our band in Indiana, a band in Texas, a band in California. We're all using the same chart and we can't get them. And I had to go find the flute player off of the CD who was playing in Broadway's Lion King at the time and get him to contact his friend who had the copyrights.
do you
And
see the links that we will go to make sure that you have the music or the drill that you need? Way to go.
so, I mean, it goes back to that concept when you're starting to narrow down those musical choices. What can you do? You know, now some states are not even touching the copyrights yet. I've seen where there are states like, oh, copyrights, we don't even mess with that. Oh, okay. Well,
Let's
that
go.
that opens the door. Let's go. But, you
But
know, like some guys want to use Broadway, and it's going to take months for that because it's over in London. You know, and that's just like, no, you no.
and you know what? This is the thing that kind of angers me about some of that, when you are talking about these big concepts or these big pieces of music or this big whatever, it's like there are other things out there that you could pick. Like if you come to us and we have this conversation about what type of show you want to do, what music you want to have, and you're going to have those conversations with Josh or with Ron, and there, Josh is going to go, all right, well, this is a jazz show. I might not be the writer of it. We certainly have somebody else that can help us with that, and you don't have to go to somebody else simply because Josh can't write it, or Ron's not known for his Big Ten marching band style shows or whatever. I don't know, but we have all of those people around. But I think it really does all come back to knowing your students, knowing what they're capable of, and being able to pivot when something, like, we all have our perfect vision in our heads about what things are. I want this perfect song. I want this perfect sound. I want this perfect drill move. I want the crown prism. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you want all of those things, right? But if you hire designers, if you hire programmers, if you hire a company like us, you get the people that can say, whoa, 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 let's look at this better, let's look at this differently, let's really think about what's going to be the best for you, your students, and your program. And oh, by the way, we don't need to do that show, right? That show's been done a million times. Or can we think about a different way to do that show? I'm famous for somebody coming to me and saying, here's the music, can we completely do something completely the opposite of what it is titled, or whatever. And that's like a dream, right? Like, that, those types of things, you go, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So, like, Josh, especially for somebody like you that has this music that you've developed, that you're now putting out these box shows, and from an arranger's standpoint, from a music standpoint, I think that's a little bit easier. Ron and I were talking a little bit earlier from the drill and the choreography end, that's like a little bit more challenging. But talk to us about your box shows, and then how maybe you make sure that those work.
Yeah, so my box shows, there's really two steps to it outside of it's just a custom show that was written for a group in the prior year. So I take that music and then I will go in. Usually, step one is to make any small edits that maybe, for instance, the group that we worked with, Jeremy, last year, their front ensemble wasn't particularly the strongest. So the music for the front ensemble book didn't fully match the Winds book, and that's okay. It was perfectly written for that group, and I think I kind of nailed that on the head. However, when it comes to the stock show version, I want that book to match a little bit more of what the Winds were doing. So I went back in and I changed some things, made the music a little bit harder. And then the second piece to that is getting a stock drumline book. And I usually kind of hire someone that's within my team to create that. So then it's easy as far as, someone, for instance, just bought one of my stock shows last week. So they can actually get the whole thing just through me. And it's easy for me to say, oh, my friend here wrote the drumline book. I'll send him the money. It just makes getting people paid and all of that much easier. And I have a little bit more quality control over things versus the custom version, which had a lot of things that were changed with the band director, specifically, not necessarily design reasons, but just difficulty reasons, to make
Right.
things harder or easier for that specific group.
And I'm going to encourage everybody, to that is listening to this, that is thinking about, their show for the fall or what have you. Again, I go back to these people that we have on the team here, as well as people you don't see behind the scenes and what have you, that are really here for your students, are really here for your program, want to make it work for you and your program, and you can really get it done in one place, right? Like to go to this person for music and this person for drill, and maybe have your local person do the choreography for the color guard, and the band tech that marched 1 year of senior corps to do your band body, and somebody else who's good at graphics design your flags, and then your costumes being designed by the manufacturer. You might not get the full cohesion that you're looking for when instead of coming to us, where if you want us to do everything beginning to end. Josh has a client that we are working on currently where it's literally beginning to end, where we put together the budget, flags, uniforms, drill, music, band, band tops, the whole thing, choreography, the whole thing came out with a number, which, by the way, I did not think was that crazy of a number to give to these people. And the band director's like, what? This is going to be done? And it's like, I don't have to really think about it. That's sort of a beautiful thing. I think I would imagine, Ron, especially you're a person that really likes to work in that way. Would I be correct in that?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it just you're gonna not only are you simplifying the creative process, you're simplifying the administrative process.
Exactly.
One PO, one check, whatever you pay with, one. That's it. And so I think I think having this opportunity to service more kids, more programs that need the help. They need the guidance. They need the design cohesiveness, because we have all seen it from judges, from band directors. You're standing there on the sideline. You're standing in the end zone, and you're watching other classes, and you're going, "Really? You know, did what? What just happened?" And whether it's with the experiences that I know for Jeremy and I, Winterguard comes into that. Keep in mind, this is I'm going back here. I'm going back a couple of steps. Color guard choreographers, just because you can do it in Winterguard doesn't mean you can do it on the field.
No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no, no, no,
you
no.
can't have a 12 count transition to change equipment and we'll just run. No, don't. Okay, don't have the kids run. Don't have the kids run. Why do you need to run? I know you got a lot to set up. You got to set up here. You got to set up there. You got to set. I get that, but when the kids run, they run out of breath, and now they can't perform for 7 minutes. It's just like
There's a
relax.
lot. It's different. It's different. And you're right. Like that comes back to that experience thing, right? Like
Mhm.
I just marched this world-class color guard. I just marched this world-class drum line, this world-class drum corps. Like, here I come. I'm gonna design for this my marching band. Oh no, honey. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. And
That's
listen, I was that kid. We were all that. Like, I'm sure we were all that kid. Like, I was totally that kid. You're gonna spin what I write, and if you can't, you're a terrible, awful human being for not being able to do it. Well, we all learn. that it's not really about us as designers. It's again back to the kids, back to the program, back to the audience, back
Making everybody feel successful
right.
and making the B flat people, the audience, the parents, feeling joy watching their kid feel success. Because I'm a parent too, and I get that. I want my son to feel success in whatever he does. And so when he has a success, then there's pride and joy here. And the same thing goes for the programs that I write for and work with. If I'm just programming and concept and all of that, great. I want them to succeed. So I'm going to make sure the arranger, the designers, the choreographers, all of that have their ducks in a row and making sure that everybody is working together for the same goal.
And I'm going to say this and we'll transition into Josh. Again, I think that we are the only company out there, and I can say it because I've been in this business for a while. We are definitely the only company out there that does everything that we do in the way that we do it. There's nobody, and company wise, again, I will say it, that has this level of music arranging, drill writing, choreography, design, budget friendly everything, right? Like we can do your shoes, we can do your bibbers, we can do your t-shirts, and we can write your drill and coordinate the whole show, right? Beginning to end. You can get experience because you have a huge budget and you're able to afford me and Josh and Ron and a choreographer, and we're all on your calls all the time, and that's what you want to spend. Or you've designated this amount of money and now you've called Josh and Josh is going to run you from beginning to end. So Josh, maybe talk about, especially now that this is kind of new for you too, kind of taking on this whole larger process in the past couple of weeks, even what have you learned to make sure that you would want to share with other with band directors out there to say, these are the questions, these are the things you should be coming to us already knowing or prepared to have ready to go?
Yeah, so you're gonna agree with a couple of these for sure. Number one, it comes down to money, so you gotta know your budget. At least like a ballpark, right? Are we talking 15,000 or are we talking 30? Like, and it varies from group to group. It doesn't have to be, 1650 is what we have. It doesn't be super specific, but knowing your budget and understanding that there are some things that general effect wise are not going to be easy or possible to achieve with less budget. But you don't need, right? You don't need a big budget to have a successful show by any means. So I lost my train of thought.
No, I think budget, I mean, literally, I think budget's the biggest thing. I mean, I would say there's literally no other question to ask until the first question is answered. What is your budget?
Mhm.
Because you can have all the caviar dreams you want, but if you're working on a Walmart budget, you're not getting the caviar dreams. And that's okay. That's okay. We can work within that, right? Remember, Guard Closet, we're consignment. Right, we could take, and if you want to say, hey, this is my budget, this is my $5,000 budget, like let's even throw like out the most, almost ridiculous number you can. I feel like looking at the two of you, between the three of us, if someone's like, oh, I have a $5,000 budget, we go, I could put together a show for that. Right, like, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to have, 50 props across the back. It's not going to have your entire band in a custom costume, but I mean, we could get there, you know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the things that I appreciate about Guard Closet, about you all being a part of it, is that's sort of in the forefront of our brain, is again, giving the kids the best possible experience and giving the directors the best possible experience. So as we sort of like wrap this up, is there something, Ron, like going into this season or going into fall, let's say, that you would want people to know besides get your stuff in early, besides what is your budget? Like, what is something that you would want everybody to leave here knowing, or, the most knowledge they could get out of this?
Hmm. I think that at the end of the day, we or the directors out there, the choreographers out there, the designers. At the end of the day, knowing that you're going to have somebody in your corner helping you from the constructive side of the show, from the construction side of the design, from the creative process. Haven't you know you're going to have somebody when you come to Guard Closet and you ask for that package. Yes, getting your stuff early. Yes, what's your budget? Now, where do you want this to go? Where's your final goal? What is your goal for this season? What is your goal for band camp? That's the stuff that you've already got in your head that you're probably already writing out because you're the educators that we all see all the time. What's the goal? How do I get there? How do I get the kids there? What do I need to do to get there? Whatever your there is, we're going to help you get there. And if it's grade 1, we're going to help you get there. Success. If it's grade 6, we're going to help you get there with success. It's going to be a process, and I think that's the main thing is love the process. That's what I do. I love the process of creating and love the process of and it's arts. It's artists, and we will have arguments at times. It'll be like, no, you're crazy. We can't do that. No, you're crazy. We can do this, and this is how we can do this. Like at the end of the day, knowing that you're going to have somebody help you throughout the season, as long as you're open to that and open to that consultation. I know my clients, I'm helping throughout the season. Like, this is what I want you, have you thought about this? And if they send me videos, I'm turning right around. I kind of screwed that up, but I turn right around and I look at the video. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this for the winds? Have you thought about this for the percussion? Especially when I know the program and the conceptual ideas behind it and where it was trying to go from the beginning. If I know that, I can help them along the way. And going out and judging every weekend in the fall and in the winter helps me improve that communication and craft of how do we get there? How do we fix this problem? Because I see others having the problem and then seeing them 2 weeks later. Well, how did you fix that problem?
Mhm.
Because it's more information. It's how we all learn about you know programs from other parts of the country. So I think I would hope that the one thing that you do take away is you have somebody in the trenches with you. Be open, be receptive. Know that we're going to come at it with passion because at the end of the day, we're all passionate and we all want the same thing: success for your kids.
And we are literally doing this every day. Like the people that are, especially the people that are on, on this video, like in this, we are literally doing it every day. And I will go back to, you hire an electrician to do the electrical work, you go to the hairdresser to get your hair cut, you go to certain people that are experts in their field, that are working daily in their field to get the best product, right? There are plenty of people out there that are great at what they do, and they're accountants, right? And they are, teachers, and they are whatever. They've got busy, crazy other lives and other careers. And, going to those types of people to get your choreography, your drill, your this, your that is just going to stress them out too. Right. So, working with a group of people that this is literally what we do every single day, I think, get what Ron was talking about, that person that you can send a video on a Tuesday afternoon and we're going to watch it and send you feedback, an hour later because it's the middle of the day, and we can do that. That's our job. How do you think, and Josh, you can kind of speak to this in collaboration with Ron said about what mistakes that band directors would come to you with, but then how you now, because this is sort of your full-time gig, can really respond to all of that.
Yeah. So being my full-time thing, and it is the best job, just to be straightforward about it, it is the coolest job to do what we do, to get to create something that doesn't exist yet. So, dang, I was going somewhere.
You're fine.
What was the question again? I get sidetracked.
Band directors, like the common mistakes that
How
they would
you,
come.
common mistakes that they make and how you address it from a full
Yeah.
time perspective of being a ranger.
Gotcha. So the really going back to communication is important, and I have a dozen at any point, a dozen group chats that I'm in, and oftentimes they're text messages or Facebook messages. They're like instant, not necessarily emails. So it that's part of, I think, what makes working with me, working with Ron, working with Jeremy, and other people that kind of have the same mindset that we do. What makes it so intriguing is that we are with you the entire season. I don't just write your music. I'm in prime music season now for composing, but I don't just stop when we reach August and now band camps in and competitions are starting. Like, I don't just go away, and there are always things that come up. So just communicating and saying like, "Hey, this is what's going on," and I'm able to help address those things. I get videos all the time from bands, and I love seeing it, of course. But then I'll hear it, and I'm like, "Well, this sample wasn't triggered right," and I had that exact issue happen last year where the sample was being triggered 8 counts too early. It still sounded fine, but it wasn't right. And then I mentioned it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it this way." But I think the communication and being in these chats and just knowing that like I'm approachable. Like I'm 26 years old. Like I'm just this guy trying to make stuff for people. Like I'm not some big corporate company that that is hard to reach out to. I'm just
And,
some
and
dude that writes music.
and if I could add to that, Jeremy, don't be afraid to send a video. We all know what an August band looks like. You're
That's
not going to
right.
be October. Send us the videos. Send the videos, and we will give you the feedback because it's part of the process. Because again, success is only going to come if we're all working together and communicating together and getting to that level.
That's right. And going off what you said, Ron, with sending the videos in, the people who create the thing, it's almost like getting a judge tape when we respond to it. Like we're giving you some outside opinions, but also we're the ones that created it. And so, for instance, Ron might have this set that may not look weird to the common person, but then he wrote it. He's like, "No, that's wrong. That's not supposed to do that, right?" And so then you're able to say that, and so those are important things that take your band from like this level, I think, it take you up to the next level. Usually, I feel like the groups that have a solid staff and a relationship between the staff members, the students, the parents, and it all just gels together. It honestly, it doesn't matter if you're playing grade 2, 3, 4 music. If you have those things, I think you're set up for success before you even play your first note.
Yeah. And again, I think this we could wrap this up by saying communication is key with us as designers, but it goes in the reverse too, right? If you have been using drill designers or arrangers or other companies out there to get your costumes or whatever, and you aren't getting the communication back, that's something that you need to make sure you're weighing out, because how many times that we all have dealt with, oh, the costumes aren't in yet, oh, the drill's still not done, oh, this, oh, that, mostly because people were late in getting it. But sometimes companies, like if you're just a number to that company, there are certainly companies you call into and you just talk to a different person every single time. That is a number, and you aren't going to get the same care, you're not going to get the same product, you're not going to get the same responses out of those companies that you will out of us. And I mean, that's just the truth. We have people in the trenches out there doing the work, right? Like, you can get your music from Josh, but you can also get your shoes from Josh. you could get your drill from Ron, but you can also get your costume from Ron, right? Like these are things that are now going to make your life a ton more easier. It's going to make everything more cohesive, and in the end that just gives you a better product. So any other last remaining thoughts, Ron, that you would want to share besides get your stuff in early?
You know me, because I'm ready to go. I take offense to what you said, Jeremy, blaming the drill writer for being late. Well, if we didn't change numbers at the second day of band camp, maybe the drill would have been there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Or the color guard choreographer going from swing flag to 7-foot flag.
Yeah.
That's a problem, but I digress. Guys, it's really simple. You can go to one shop, that's it, or you can go to multiple people. And if you're a young director or a solo director with maybe a middle school part-time assistant at the high school, you simplify your life because you're burning the candles at both ends, and you're doing that anyway, being a band director. And
Preach.
I used to say this in my leadership training camps when I taught, because I had a different approach to the leadership camps altogether. And I would tell the students, the sectional leaders, I would tell them, what's the difference between a doctor and a band director? The only difference is the salary. That's the only difference, because that band director, and you know who you are saving lives every day. You're keeping that kid off the street.
Mm-hmm.
The band is the safe zone. The band is the safe place. And a lot of kids, a lot of great kids, sometimes need the program more than the program needs them. And you're out there doing that. Thank you for doing that. And, keep doing that. But while you're doing that, maybe you need to look at how you create your product for those B flat people, the audience, the administrators, and get to that success so that you it, can have a sense of relief knowing that you've got people in the trenches with you and helping you, knowing that you're out there saving lives. And again, the only difference is maybe a few more years of college, a bigger college bill, and the salary,
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, you're saving lives, and you're doing the best you can, and we're here to help you.
that's right. Josh, what do you want to leave everybody with?
Buy our stuff. No.
That's a good
um,
one.
you know, I guess to take a little bit of a different route than Ron, I think all band directors should, at the end of the day, put yourself in the student's shoes and think about everything from step one before you even think about the show design. Just think about the students and their experience. I think part of what drove me to do what I do is because of the experiences I had doing indoor percussion and my educators that gave me and the designers as well. So taking the fortunately I don't work with any band directors that are like this, but there's some that just have egos, and you can't have the ego. The band marching band's not about the band director, right? It's not about the designers. It is seriously about the students, and like just the students, and providing an experience where they have those memories and they come out and they're like, wow, I enjoyed performing. I enjoyed playing that music. That drill was fun. Like, this was good. We looked good in it. And they come off the field and they're crying or they're excited about it. Those sort of moments make what we do worth it. And that's really like, that's why I do it. Having students come up and be like, this was cool. I enjoyed this. That is the most rewarding thing. Watching my stuff live and seeing the students get excited. And it's not like when you're performing in marching band or any pageantry arts, like, it's not just playing the music or marching from one place to the other. It's a lot of passion and a lot of emotion that goes into those movements and doing those things. And often that gets overlooked. So I guess I want to leave it with is like marching band is about the students, and we should always gear what we do towards what's going to better that student, both performance wise and just like in life, right? You get a lot of life experiences by doing marching band. So that's my 2 cents.
No, you're right on. We love the fact that our activity does more than just music and moving, right? Like it's a whole other level. We know that the rest of the world should catch up at some point. I'm a firm believer that everybody should spend at least one season in marching band. I think that is like, I mean, literally every person on the planet should spend one season in marching band. You could do just the fall, that's okay, but spend it because it really makes a difference. Well, I'm very appreciative of both of you doing this today. I'm very appreciative of you being a part of this guard closet crazy thing that we're doing. And I hope that everybody out there listening, watching, got something out of that, got something out of this. At minimum, you know that if you come to us, you have an entire team behind you ready to take whatever you want to do and make it a reality. Maybe we will tell you you're wrong with that little idea, but we will help you create something else. Okay. Like we're not just going to be like, oh, that was terrible and hang up. We will be there all along the way. So thank you guys both for joining us today. I hope to see everybody soon. Go follow us on social media at Guard Closet. Find these guys at guardcloset.com/design. Their information and bios are there. Their websites there attached. You can see examples of their work. I'm sure lots more stuff's going to be coming out from them. So be looking for that. And our final word is get your stuff in early. Thanks, guys. See you all again soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.